That's where we start off from, security. Now, remember, there's on the floor at plenary, the Green Chamber, one honorable representing Zamfara, Gusau Shafi Federal Constituency in Zamfara State, raised an alarm about the possibility of bandits or the threat being posed by bandits who are attempting to take over the state capital. He was very concerned there. But there's also the other bit about the ban of the sit-at-home, the ban on the sit-at-home orders that had been imposed on the southeast, this time in Enugu State by the government. Well, we have here in the studio to help us understand what's going on, Honorable Kabiru Amadu, a member representing Gusau Shafi Federal Constituency in Zamfara State. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Also to join us from our Lagos studio, we have Onyekachi Adekoya, a security consultant.
Thank you for having me. Good morning to viewers.
All right, so let's start off with you, Honorable Amadu. You raised that alarm about the situation in Zamfara. Just walk us through it.
Yeah. Actually, I think the issue of insecurity in Zamfara State is no longer a news. Everybody knows what is happening. For over a decade, we are in this serious and hard situation. But I think by keeping quiet, we're about to be consumed by this issue, actually. Because, like I said, for the last 10 years, we're in this menace. And up till this moment, nothing has been done.
When you say the last 10 years, you've not raised this alarm before. So yeah. How is it that it's now your reason? What's different? What's happening?
For the last 10 years, there is a different government in place. Government came and government go for the last 10 years. I'm talking about the state government, even the federal government. A lot of us has been raising the alarm, has been talking about it up to this moment. But nothing much has been achieved from it. It has even come to the extent that they're about to take over the state, I can say it that way, because they are now into the state capital. Then it was in the remote areas. They are now inside the state capital. That's Gusau I'm talking about, where I'm representing. Every day there is one attack to another in Gusau. When we talk about Gusau, we talk about the immediate areas when you get to the Gusau. So once it has come to this, I think it has come to the extent that it is about to be consumed us. So that's what I'm saying.
You know, one would wonder, when you say Gusau, city center or on the outskirts of the state capital? Not that any one of them is good.
If you know the terrain, when we talk about Gusau, we talk about Samaru. Samaru is inside the main area. It's under to the other ward. It's under my ward. It's to the other area. You talk about Jauli, Auni, Damba, all is inside.
There's no presence of security there?
Even though I have to commend the work that security started to doing, because these days, 2 days, 3 days, there is changes actually from the security. Also from the pressure from our new governor, Dr. Dauda Lawal, who is working around the clock every day to see that he put things in place to provide the security in the state. So these days now, the security is trying to see how they can mount more checking points around those areas, because that's the only thing they can do for now. So we can say that these days there is 2 days now. There is some high change from the security side. But actually, days back, the thing is worse. No presence of security. They're not doing anything. Every night, the bandit will just came, took people. It has even come to the extent now that they are breaking wall. They broke a wall, enter inside, bring somebody. I think there is one evil man that was killed just last 2 weeks. They wanted to take his daughter. He resists. They shot him there and then, and they took the daughter away. You see, it's a very pathetic situation.
I know a lot of people will be trying to just decipher how real a threat this is. I mean, Gusau, a lot of people know, of course, is the main city. If anything happens to Gusau, one can only imagine what's going on in the other parts of the state. But you've talked about the bandits. But I'd like you to speak to the who they are exactly. I think that is something we've always tried to decipher. We've never really come to a real conclusion. Are they enemies from within? Are they cross-border bandits or terrorists? I mean, with this coup attempt in Niger now, I mean, we'll talk about the possible implications, but who are they exactly?
You see, the issue of insecurity in Zamfara state, it started like a play, a clash between farmers and herders. And also, there is another factor that is saying is also a clash between the smugglers. Smugglers, because you know we have a border with Niger Republic. So there is some of it's a part of the story that is saying that it started from the smugglers who used to smuggle rice and a lot of items into the Nigeria through that border. So some of them ignites the insecurity. And again, there is this issue, you know, we have mineral resources in the states. So also it's part of the, so now it goes beyond all that. Now it's a lucrative business. A lot of people makes money or are making money in the business. That's why it goes to this par, because now there is informants. You don't know who is even informants. They are making money. There is people that are supplying them with phone, with food, with diesels. They have camps all over the states. They settled inside the bush. They have all the logistics that they need. So it's now a lucrative business. That's why it is very difficult to stop. And that's why the Nigerian security has to sit off with all of us, with everybody, for us to get end of this situation.
So just to be clear, you're saying it's hard to really pinpoint who they are?
Definitely, because 80% of them, they are planners.
They're Fulanis?
They are planners, 80% of them, they are planners. And they have houses and other tribes who is supplying them with all that they need. The informations, their logistics, and what have you.
So is that why, I know there's been that controversy about whether or not to negotiate with them, the former governor saying, well, this is what I think you should do, the current governor saying, well, I don't think that is what I need to do. We saw the immediate past governor, some of the moves he made. Well, he eventually dropped that idea because it looked like he was not working. So is that why it's been difficult for the government at the state level and security agencies to really maybe pinpoint who they are and then what needs to be really done to ensure that they don't take over the state capital?
Yeah, you see, if you're talking about the negotiating with them, you have to consider two issues. Number one, who are you negotiating with? They don't have a single leader.
But they have kingpins. We see that from time to time.
They have camps, different camps, a lot. And even there's no unity between them. Even them, they are fighting each other. If you are lucky to negotiate with Camp A, then that means Camp B is not going to be with you. So Camp B will continue to terrorize you.
So you're okay with negotiation?
So no. Negotiating will not work in this place at this time because Governor Yari tried negotiating throughout his tenure. It didn't work out. Governor Mutuale did the same thing. For almost a year, he romanced them. He tried to do everything possible to make them understand that negotiating or to accept amnesty is even the best way to go about it. But at the end of the day, they refuse. They keep terrorizing the state. He has no option unless to go back to the military, even him. I think it's only during his administration that the negotiation even lasted for a year. But after that, he came back to the business because, like I said, it's a lucrative business. They are getting a lot of money from it. If you negotiate with them, you cannot afford to be giving them such amount of money. You can't.
How much do they ask for?
A lot of. If they kidnapped, they collect millions, hundreds of millions.
No, I mean the one they ask from government, because I imagine the negotiation also has some sort of financial settlement attached. Okay, stay away, we'll get you this. We've had a former governor saying that, well, this is how much he used to give to those bandits.
What Motole tried to do then, you see, he built this what do you call Ruga for them. He tried to bring them on board so that let them come join government, let them come explain their needs, what exactly is their problems. It even to the extent that, okay, I will start giving you monthly stipends so that at least you can take care of your kids and whatever you want to do. But instead, like Zamfara, we don't have IGR, nothing. How much is our allocation? How can you cope to be giving them money every month? You can't. So at the end of the day, the negotiation will collapse.
He tried to bring them in as members of the government. Are they citizens of Nigeria? Are they citizens of Zamfara?
Yes, many of them, they are citizens. They're citizens of Zamfara.
When you talked about the fact that over time they've been gaining more ground and people are giving them information.
Yeah.
Is it the residents of the state that are giving them information? Why would the residents be giving information to these people, even to their own...
It's two things here involved. Some residents are giving them information based on the fear of attack. They used to scare people that if you didn't give us information, we'll come and kill you, we'll come and raid the town. We'll ransack everybody, we'll ransack the village, we'll set it ablaze. There is that fear. Secondly, some are making money in it. When you give us information, if we kidnapped, you have the social percentage. So these are the two things that are involved. So that's why the attacks continue. Like now, they normally send a message to a particular community that on so dates we are coming. So raise 20 million for us. If you didn't, wait for the consequences.
So the local residents of those villages now raise, how would they even generate the 20 million?
They are farmers, but now it has come to the extent that they can no longer raise anything. That's why the bandits are now going closer to the state capital.
This is a major indictment on security, by the way, because we have different levels of security from the police, the military, across board. So if you're saying this is thriving in spite of imagined security presence, that's a major indictment.
Yeah, to me, I'm not indicting anybody, but what I'm saying is the reality on ground. All of us knew, they knew, we knew. That's the actual thing. What we're trying to do here, what I'm trying, like I said, we're expecting the changes now, especially the new service chiefs are on board. The new IG also. We have new presidents, so we believe and we pray things will change for better.
Okay, let's, Mr. Adekoya, you've been listening to this conversation from Honorable Amadu talking about what's going on in Zamfara, his constituency, that's the Gusau Shafe Federal Constituency, and what they've had to deal with. One of the things that he said here that really sounds pathetic is the fact that most people who are mostly farmers over time have been raising money to pay for security, so to speak. Now they can't raise the money anymore, and the bandits are coming closer to the city center. Kayode has also talked about the fact that there's an indictment on the security situation, but he's hopeful. And now that we have new service chiefs, new president, new governments, more or less, that things would be different. But from the security point of view, what do you think is going on? We've not even looked at what's happening in the southeast.
The money I'm saying that.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think that the southeast situation is similar to the northwest situation. And most times we are quick to indict security forces for political issues. If you look at the southeast, it's one of that regions of Nigeria that has very poor governance in terms of the returns on investment in the democratic process. So the governance level is quite poor in the southeast. It's the same thing with the northwest. We talk about the incidence of poverty being very high in the north. The incidence of poverty may not be high in the southeast, but the level of voter apathy, the apathy in governance structure generally, the sentiments that seem to favor non-state actors, you find that correlation. The Northeast had this problem, but you can see that Governor, what's his name now, the governor in Borno State, has taken the matter head on. In about 4 years, the issue of Boko Haram has been decisively dealt with. Yes, I know some will argue that you have about maybe 3 divisions, now 2 divisions in the Northeast headquarters in Maiduguri. But you can see the governor taking the matters of dividends of democracy head on to the people, going to the remote local government, 3 or 4 or 5 times being attacked, his convoy being attacked, facing this matter head on. So the issue of Zamfara is not new, as the right honorable member said. It's been on for more than 20 years, if not even 30 years. I don't know what we talk about 10 years. The problems within the Sahel region is what disturbs Zamfara, Sokoto, Kebbi, Katsina, and those states that border Niger. Don't forget also that Governor Shinkafi in 2010 had claimed that over 60% of Nigeria's mineral deposits are in Zamfara. I mean, that may just have to be checked. But the point is that Zamfara has gold. Zamfara has gold, like Ondo. Remember the Owo attack? I then said...
Is that the reason why these things are happening? One would have expected that it's not something, as you said, it's been on for 30 years, so the security operatives, security apparatus of state is very well aware of that fact.
You can be aware and be incapacitated. How much can the security do? Military is operating over 31 states, full end of operation. We saw the Chief of Army Staff in Mangu doing press-ups and push-ups as an airborne officer motivating his troops, which I don't think is right in any case. We're quick to call the military to everything. These people in Zamfara, for example, they are armed bandits. They are not insurgents. They've not taken up arms against the Nigerian states. They are criminals. So this is a job for the police. We come back to the argument again. You say there's space, there's place where they can operate and find joy from. The honorable member told you that they didn't have enough security forces. How many security forces will be enough to deal with the issues of the social construct of the society? Well, it's not a security problem. It
sounds to me like there's a lot more to deal with in that regard. But speaking to the security operatives that you talked about, it's just Monday that we received this report that troops of Operation Hadarin Daji on Monday night foiled an attack by bandits on military formation in the same Zamfara state. Just Monday. And here we are yesterday talking about another attack. This time, 7 soldiers are reported to have killed. Would you say that's a reprisal or is just a continuation of the same thing?
No, that's the thing that goes on. When we talk about the security forces not doing enough, they are the ones at the front lines. They are the ones dying every day. That's the number you have just counted. They die every day in the northwest as they die every day in the southeast. Same thing. So the security forces are doing the best they can do. But let me give you this analogy. The IG, and I do hope that the lion in him is still there. We have over 774 local governments, over 1,500 and something divisional police stations. We have 12 zonal commands. We have over 37 state commands. How much can the IG do again? We need to go back to state police. And I keep making this argument. The state police must be the force multiplier for the federal police, which will then plug the gap for the federal military to come in. We can't keep sending the military in against Nigerian citizens. You heard the honorable tell you that they are Nigerian citizens. There's a reason why crime and criminality will thrive in a society. If governance is not there, in those places in the northwest, there are places where the local government chairmen are in the state capital. So the alarm is coming out because the state capital is under attack, where most of the local government chairmen are. And so now we can, raise up. So what happens to the people in the local governments? People are mining, people are making money.
Is this suggestive that the scale of what is happening in Zamfara is to the effect that there's an emerging parallel government? Is that what Honorable Adamu is trying to tell us? No,
Honorable Adamu has not said anything. It's just said that in the East, people pay egonche. That's money for protection. In the North Central, people pay that money for passage. In the Northwest, they pay the money also. If in the Northeast, they pay the money. You won't go to your farm if you don't pay the money.
But that's helplessness.
And that's what we are saying. You see, when we talk about security, we think that is one big concept. When we talk about security architecture. You listen to Senator Ifeanyi Omba, who told you that within his local government in Enugu North, they had to apply local initiative. you know, with the sticks and walkie-talkie. But what he was telling you, classic case was point-to-point communication. See something, say something, mobilize to it. Kebbi had a very effective vigilante group. All of a sudden, something was done. That vigilante group was disbanded. Next thing we saw was the attack on GB Foods in Kebbi. You know, so there are local initiatives that can work. The governors, with profound respect, are the ones who solve the problem. Short of saying that they are not doing what they've been elected to do. If you can mobilize the state to get you elected, you can mobilize the state to solve those social issues. And let me just make the last point to say that when the issue of reviewing the Nigerian Police Act was raised, the state governors themselves did not vote to support the creation of state police because they claimed they didn't have the funds. Now we have 1.9 trillion that we could have shared. So can we bring up this issue of state police? Let's get the local government chairman responsible for security in their local government, get the state governors responsible for security in their states. Everybody can keep going back.
My apologies, yes. for the one that you mentioned about the local government. At what point did that break down? I remember, I think it was in the Third Republic, that we had a very, very effective, local government system, such that they had their own security council. I had a stint with the local government at the time, so they had meetings with the local government chairman. Traditional rulers would come, some civil society organizations would come, community development organizations would come for the meetings and all those things. At what point did that break down in this Fourth Republic?
I'll tell you where it broke down. Security is expensive. If the state governors keep touching the money of the local governments, there's so much the local government cannot do. So the chicken is coming home to roost. That's what I'm saying. It's about the form of and the structure of governance. You can't take one thing and leave the other. Security is expensive. Those meetings, when you call the meetings, you will call the local chiefs, there will be entertainment. They may be thank you for coming. There should be some things you do with some security votes to keeping the peace. The police now are quietly claiming that they don't have fuel to fuel their vehicles. There are some things you do for logistics. Logistics is about 70% the headache of the Nigerian security forces. At the early times when we started prosecuting the war against the insurgents in the northeast, you had battalions that didn't have enough A vehicles or B vehicles. So there's a whole lot of things that we need to address. I think you were trying to ask a question then.
Yes. I'm glad you mentioned Senator Ufai Uba's presentation on the floor of the Senate. And if you would tie it to what you said about the governors presenting an excuse that they didn't have the resources to fund, state police, Senator Uba referred to security votes. So do the governors really have an excuse if the Anambra Nnewi example is something that we can refer to?
They don't have an excuse. Then Governor Yari resigned, if I remember, as CSO of Zamfara, and he said he doesn't. You can't call me CSO if I don't have the arms of state, But you see, Governor, I need to remember his name. The governor of Borno State now,
Zulum.
Professor Zulum. Yes, he's doing a very good job against you see, sometimes it's about leadership. It's about the strong desire to see a change and the ability to have the force of will to drive that change. The governors don't have any excuse.
Well, we'll step up a little on that when we return from this break, because there really is a lot to talk about on that. So please stay with us.
It's barely 48 hours since the Enugu state government sealed off some shops in Ogbete main market for non-compliance with its directive banning the sit-at-home order by the members of the indigenous people of Biafra.
Different persons. Only two. One person is there, one person is there.
The idea, according to the Secretary to the state government, is to show government's commitment to putting an end to the unlawful holiday in the state.
What I came today was to enforce what His Excellency has said, that the shops that are not open, that we will seal them as a deterrent. And if you look inside that market, you see that a lot of people came, but the few people that decided not to come. So we had an agreement here in line with the policy and His Excellency's declaration that those shops will be closed.
The affected traders are not taking the clampdown lying low. They have come out en masse to protest what they see as government high-handedness. They march through the streets of Enugu, bearing their disgust with chants and songs.
Tomorrow is here, we not agree. Tomorrow is here, we not agree.
Attempts by some of the traders to break these seals results in disagreement with market leaders and eventually a full-blown protest. These eyewitness videos show disturbing scenes of chaos, burnt fire, with some residents finding ways to escape from the scene. According to a report signed by the police public relations officer DSP Daniel Ndukwe, the protest was infiltrated and hijacked by dangerously armed hoodlums and miscreants who broke into shops and looted traders' wares. Although the police are yet to make any statement regarding the number of deaths, this eyewitness video shows that at least a casualty was recorded during the face-off. The government has, however, called on the people and residents of Enugu to remain calm and go about their lawful businesses as adequate security measures are in place to secure lives and property in the state.
Thank you for staying with us. We still have Mr. Onyeka Adekoya here, and we're talking about this whole security issue. Well, let's go now to Enugu State. Seems that that's a good cue for us to go there. I mean, you've stated that earlier, and so when you say that the governors do not have an excuse for the insecurity in their states, that one would say that that's what we just saw now is an example of the state government taking initiative, but then. There are those who would say it backfired in a way, because people were happy that, the state sit at home, seem happy that the state sit at home is over, but sealing of the shops, there are those who say that's what caused that fracas.
I mean, within the ambits of what the governor has in terms of statecrafts, or what we call tradecraft in statecrafts, you have to apply the carrot and the stick. The carrot was when you saw people mobilize. There was a fanfare about it. And then the governor has to find a way to walk his talk. Now, I know that every Nigerian has right to hold property. I'm not sure if Enugu State has passed new regulations, if there are new laws. We don't have the full facts. I don't know the strand of law upon which the governor will move to seal the shops. But if we analyze from what we're seeing, it will suggest that the governor in Enugu is trying to apply the stick, to the carrots they presented earlier. And what's happening in Enugu is good. We have said that when the people themselves, emphasis, when the people themselves change their orientation, because my mother is from the southeast, and even with our family, small family, we understand some of the sentiments towards Biafra. But you can't be destroying your economy. I saw Simon Ekpa in a video claiming that Nigerian government has lost about $12 trillion due to the sit-at-home in the southeast, and I thought that was rather fanciful. You are not destroying anybody's economy other than your economy. You are not destroying your states, any other person's state other than your state. As a matter of fact, Nigeria can move on without bothering about the issues of the southeast. Should Nigeria do that? No, we are still one Nigeria, as we say. But you can't, how do you say, cut your nose to spite your face. And people are genuinely tired. But the fear factor, you have less than 0.2% of the population of that Southeast terrorizing the rest of the population. So the numbers of those who are tired are far more than those who are in support of some of these things. So it now looks as though the governor is trying to help the people vent that frustration, provide leadership, and also apply some pressure to get things moving. We've seen Governor Soludo do the same thing. That's why we say leadership from the governors, very important. When Governor Soludo started in Anambra State, some of us questioned, was he taking too much of his goodwill at that early stages confronting IPOB and ASM in Anambra? How much progress he has achieved is yet to be seen, but progress is being made. Now, to the issue of leadership, look at Ebonyi State, for example. Then Governor Dave Umahi did a lot of things in the state and clearly said, you know what, even Ebonyi, we don't think we're evils. You know, just trying to isolate his state from some of those. So there's good development in Ebonyi. You know, things are moving. So let's support the good part of the efforts of the governor of Enugu, that one of locking up shops. I don't know what the position of the law in Enugu is, and I mean maybe the Enugu state government would have to come and explain some of that.
Speaking of explanation, perhaps we should now take this to Honorable Amadu. I'm sure you've heard a lot of the things that Mr. Adekoya has said about initiatives of governors in the Southeast and the seeming helplessness of police security operatives, and of course what's possible if we use the example of Anambra Nnewi North local government of Senator Uba, to be specific. If you consider all of these factors, why do you think there's a seeming helplessness on the part of the state government in Zamfara? Honorable Amadu, that's for you.
Okay, thank you. Like I said, our governor, Dr. Lawal, he just came in on board, I think, just 2 months or 3 months, 2 months ago. And since the time he took over, he put a lot of energy and efforts to see how he can tackle this issue of insecurity. That's the first thing he did. And also his agenda, the first agenda, second agenda, and third agenda is all about the issue of insecurity in Zamfara State. He met with all the security chiefs in Zamfara State. He sat with them. He discussed the problem and the solutions also to the problems. And he put more effort in trying to see that he immediately tackled some of the problems that they have, the issue of vehicles and the welfare and a lot of things. And even the police, I think, immediately he released the money for them to fix their vehicles, almost 20 or so. And he is trying to see that he recover some of the vehicles and to get some to them so that at least they can be able to use them to fight this issue. So, normally the state government, all they have to is to show commitment, to put more effort, and to wake up. That's meant by spotting the security, because the security is under federal government. They were the one that is handling the issue of security. But as a state governor, all he could do is to mobilize them, spot them, show more commitment. And that's what exactly I think the governor of Borno State did for the last 4 years. Show commitment, be with them, and that's exactly what the Governor Lawal is doing. He recently embarked on a tour to all the service chiefs, including the outgoing one and the new ones. He met them, the chief of army staff, the chief of defense staff. He discussed with them. He appealed to them to move more troops to Zamfara State. And I think that yield a result, because just yesterday I was called that a lot of troops and a lot of security was moving to the state. So I think the highest thing a governor can do is to show commitment to support the security, and that's exactly what our governor is doing. So the only discrepancies here is the issue of the negotiating or the amnesty, which our governor said is not ready to do that, learning from the experience that the former governors tried that and it fails. So this time around, all he's appealing to the army or the security is to take this war to these people, because like what my colleagues said, they are criminals. They are criminals, and they are hidden in the states. And I think the security, the intelligence know their coordinates. They know exactly where the camps is. Just the day before yesterday, the troops were able to destabilize one of the camp in around Shinkapi, something like that. And also, they also tried to attack, or they attacked the military also, where they killed almost 7 soldiers and almost 20 civilians. That happens in a farmland and around Moru local government. So the governor is trying everything possible.
What we can deduce, Honorable Amadou, from what you have said is that in spite of the efforts of the state government and in fact the military presence, I imagine there are military formations in parts of Zamfara states to check, the activities of these bandits. What we can deduce is that the bandits are emboldened. What is your own assessment based on this? Is it that they have inadequate equipment and manpower to work with?
You see, the major complaints from the military or the security entirely, there is inadequate fundings and they don't have the manpower. This one is, I think, is a lingering complaint from the security. I visited a lot of them, and the meeting I had with them is almost like this: inadequate fundings and the issue of manpower. And again, from our own angle and the result we are gotten from our constituents, previously some of the securities are not doing what they are supposed to do, especially those that are fostered in the local environment, because you end up having, it's part of what I want the Chief of Army Staff to check in and look into. You force a soldier to go to fight a war, he will end up acquiring a farmland in particular community, become a farmer and herder at the end of the day. This is one of the major problems and one of the issue that the Chief of Army Staff, he really needs to look into it. Don't allow soldiers to be having or acquiring a farmland when they were here to provide security for the people. They end up become a farmers. They became friends to the terrain and what have you. So a lot of issues used to came from that particular accusation. So what I'm saying now, in a nutshell, like you said, inadequate fundings and lack of manpower is really a major problem with the security.
Honorable Amadou, you've said something here that, but I'll start off from what Mekachi said earlier about state police, and for where you are serving in the legislature, one would think that these are things you should be considering, you and your colleagues should be considering issues of state police. Before now, there were about 9 laws. I mean, having a conversation with the Director General of the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, he talked about at least 9 bills that were passed by the last assembly that were taken to the president, the former president, and he refused assent. And those bills are going to come back, and they all had to do with security. For instance, who mobilizes the army when it's time to move? At what point does the state governor get authority to mobilize a security outfit to do something? And then the issue of state police. What would you be looking to do so that this kind of situation you've talked about now doesn't have to continue in your state?
The issue of state police, particularly I myself, I support it 100% because I believe the issue of state police will go a long way in providing the lasting solution of these problems. Part of the complaints that always came in between the state government and the federal government is that normally the governors will always say that we don't control the security. The securities are not under us. So sometimes there is that discrepancy between the securities and the state governments. And also, when it comes to the sport and the logistics, the state government sometimes find it difficult to be giving money to them because no money specifically that budgeted to the state government on that issue of security. They have to use the money they got from the state in whatever ways to mobilize the money and put to the security. So maybe I think by creating a state police, number one, the state police knows the states. They know the terrain of the state. Part of the problems we're having with the security now is they don't know the terrains. Soldiers were posted to a particular commodity. They don't know from Mada, the access from Mada to Magami. They don't know the shortcut that they can follow from here to there. They don't know from Magami to Ansado, from Kolenganwa to Kita. They don't know all those access. But the state police, they were the indigenous of that particular state. They know a lot of that bandits. They know their terrain and they know where they used to follow, no matter how narrow it is. So creating state police will go a long way.
So you're not concerned that the governor might hijack the police and use it to intimidate his opponent?
Every governor wants a peace in his states. Whoever he is, he wants a peace in his states.
And so if he feels that his political opponent...
I'm coming. You cannot rule. That way is another angle that we're all looking for. But let's first of all look the advantage of it. Let's look how people will get peace. We're talking about peace here, which is beyond everything. It's beyond politics. You cannot do politics without peace. So now peace supersedes politics. So since peace supersedes politics, then we can take it as priority. Let's get peace to our people. By creating this state police, I believe it will help in providing the lasting solution of this problem. And the issue of politics is another thing that we can discuss. Again, it has anything in Nigeria has advantage and disadvantage.
Honorable,
that's how it is.
I sincerely hope you mean what you say, because I've heard literally all politicians say, yes, peace is the main thing, not politics. But in reality, it's quite different when, in fact, some of them thrive within conflicts. In fact, that's when the politics is sweet, when they're able to pitch people against themselves, when they have armed groups supporting them. So I really wonder if this is not just the usual rhetoric. But I also want to know if you agree with Mr. Onyekachi on the point he made that, the insecurity we're seeing, and he made reference to Zamfara and Enugu, Southeast generally, is beyond inadequacy of security agencies. He essentially was saying that it's as a result of lack of governance. By extension, the people they have a soft spot, either for the bandits in this case, which you have referenced, or, the secessionists. So do you really agree? By extension, will the solution then be state security or state police recruiting more, police officers or military men, still focusing on trying to put an end to this via the security means? Do you agree with him that it's beyond security and we should focus on the people, perhaps, or governance, the dividends of governance?
Yeah. To some point, I agree with him. First of all, we have to get a united community. People must agree to cooperate with relevant security agencies to provide information to support securities. That's for sure. And secondly, there is a lot of people that is providing information to these bandits, a lot of them. We have to be patriotic, all of us. And at the same time, we have to desist from any kind of relationship with them, no matter how it is, and to be ready to give them up to security agencies. And another angle, why we always say security, security, security. These bandits, they are using guns. Nobody has guns. People were not allowed to protect themselves. You understand what I'm saying? We don't have guns. Nobody has guns. It's only security that has that guns that we're talking about. So they were the only people that can protect us. If they said no, go acquire your gun, you are free to protect yourself. Nobody will blame security anymore.
Would you be voting for that in the National Assembly if the bill comes up again for people to own arms?
Yes.
You'll be voting for that?
I will vote for that particularly because the issues, the current situation we are in some states, if people can be able to acquire arms legally, I think maybe it will help to us, because all the channels and all the procedure, all the kind of operations was put in place for the last 10 years. It yielded no result up till this moment we're talking about. It yielded no result. So to me, like I said, we hope we have the new service chiefs now, the new president. So we hope things will get better. Okay,
while you're hoping things will get better, Mr. Adekoya, that matter he talked about, the soldiers getting farmlands while at the war front or while in the field, just push that to one side first. And then this other school of thought in some areas where people think that the security outfits, as they are, were tailored to protect the leaders and not the people. So it's a mindset thing here. If we're going to look at a renewed security architecture and structure, so to speak, and a state police, what that area of mindset and the framework, what do you think it should be looking like?
Okay, I think very simple. Democratization of national security. Democratization of our criminal justice system. Democratization of the institutions of states responsible for the use and deployment of deadly force. That's all. And the enthronement of civil leadership, the doctrine that says that every arm of state that deals with force must submit totally and absolutely to civil authority and civil leadership. That reorientation is what is needed. And until we do that, you continue to see the tradecraft of the DSS, where we have reports that an officer said to a sitting trial judge that the directive from his boss supersedes that of a court. Though the DSS have come out to put out a statement, Emefiele is still with them. Which is how we do things in Nigeria. You shoot first and you ask questions later, or you bring up a foolscap sheet and then you make statements. So we hope that some people will be scapegoated from the incident that happened in the Federal High Court in Ikoyi, and then we can then begin to also reorientate our people. There are times when you are given an order that is not lawful. We must give the people the opportunity. You are sitting in court, you have seen the trial judge, discretion must be allowed and at least provide protection for some of those people. So I think the democratization is what we need to see. Number two, that we have new service chiefs and this word security architecture. I said we should stop using security architecture. We should run a security program for Nigeria to the benefit of Nigeria's national interests and national security. This architecture thing is, I think we've gone past it. We need something that works, and it has to come from bottom up. There is nothing new I see that the new service chiefs will do other than, have reports of their personnel killed every day because of the way the politics and the way the society is structured. There's nothing new they can do because fundamentally, the conditions on ground are beyond the persons in that office. We have to now begin to shift to an all-of-society approach, and it also involves an all-of-government approach. So those fundamental shifts or paradigm shifts must occur for us to see anything different.
Let's wind down quickly. We need to touch on this topic, and it's what's playing out in Niger. So we've seen this in Mali, Guinea-Bissau. We've seen it in essentially 4 countries now in the West African region. That's about 25% of the region itself. Are you concerned about this, particularly for Nigeria's security? We see that Niger alone borders about, 7 states in Nigeria?
I'm quite concerned, and I think the NIA also should be concerned. Foreign offices should be concerned. I think they're looking at it. You can look at the issue in Niger at surface level, but there are also some international interest groups. There are some destabilizing forces operating within Africa and ECOWAS. So the issues are not local as they are. There are some local issues that are exploited or engineered into some of these crises. But thankfully, the ECOWAS chairman, being our president, has put out a statement, and I see AU towing the line, and so we must stifle out some of these issues. But a lot of international politics and geopolitics is at play, particularly in Africa. So there are broader issues for EU to deal with that are beyond the local issue of Niger. The issue of Niger is being dealt with. I understand the president of Benin Republic was en route to Niger, I think, yesterday. So ECOWAS is doing the best they can do to ensure that they stamp this out. But there are some foreign interest actors that are not helping out these situations, even in the Sahel, as it affects Sokoto, Kebbi, Katsina, Maiduguri, Borno, and some other parts. There are a number of black market operators, as we call them, that are state-sponsored, really. So some things are not just what you see. So I know that our president, ECOWAS and AU, is also trying to address some of these issues. Howbeit, to achieve a sustainable approach, it must be diplomatic, and we must find a win-win situation for Africa and for the states in question.
All right, that's a good place to hang it there. Mr. Adekoya, a security consultant, I want to thank you for coming in this morning and sharing your thoughts with us. Thank you. Also here in Abuja studio, we had Honorable Kabiru Amadu, member representing Gusau Shafi Federal Constituency in Zamfara State. Thank you for coming in, and we do hope things get resolved real quickly.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
So, as Daily, we'll be back in a moment. Just stay with us.